is this taster for what we do on the Anfield Wraps player system. About once every fortnight, once every 3 weeks, John Gibbons, who watches a lot of the under-18s and under-21s, gets in a room with people like Rob Gutman, Glenn Price, Andy Kelly, and they have a Jack Whitehead as well. Jack's really good, and they have a chat about what's been going on with the under-18s, with the under-21s, and what that meant was this pre-season when we were all getting excited about certain players. I know I was. I'd heard all about them on the Central League. It was passé to these lads, all that sort of stuff. When they do one of these shows, as I say, every 2 or 3 weeks, we've got a number of shows like that we do every 2 or 3 weeks on the Anfield Wrap player as a taster for you. You know, we've got things like Melissa Reddy's fantastic Full Stop show. We've got all sorts of little things that we look to, specials and all that. You've heard the Jamie Carragher one as well as part of these little run of tasters. But we have, you know, we've got our set shows that we put out Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday. Wednesday's the day when we like to shake it up to a certain extent, and this is the Central League. She'll tell you everything you need to know about Liverpool's under-18s and under-21s. £5 a month, man. You can't say fairer than that.
It is the Central League. Sorry we've been away so long, but I've had quite a few people asking me when the next one is, so it's nice to be missed sometimes, isn't it? It's nice to be loved.
We're back.
We are back, and the teams are back as well. They're playing well. I'm joined by Jack Whitehall from... did I get it right?
Jack Whitehead.
Whitehall, someone else.
Discussed this before the show.
And I've just
mediocre comedian.
Sorry, Jack. I just say Jack. He's from JMU. He's doing some great stuff for us. Andy Kelly from his sickbed. Pulled out from his sickbed, so thanks very much.
Past the late fitness, and I'm here.
And Rob Gutman sick in so many other different ways. Okay, I'm going to focus a bit more on the under-21s today, because we normally do a lot on the under-18s because they're more exciting and fun, but the under-21s are dead interested at the moment. They've won the last 3 games, which is noteworthy in itself because they haven't been having too good a season.
We've got to be top of the league by now,
John. Not from bottom, I wouldn't have thought, especially with some of those cup games. There's been a general upturn in form recently, I think it's fair to say, from the under-21s. I don't know, I'll ask you first, Robert. What do you put that down to? I've got here a few ideas. Maybe it's the Klopp effect. Players believing they've got a bit more chance to impress now, so they're around. The fact that the games have seemingly got a bit more meaning, not just because you've got a different manager, but also they seem to play better in this under-21 Cup, don't they, when there's a bit more riding on it and they kind of get to it. I don't know, what do you think it is, the reason for the upturn in form?
A facetious quick answer would be that we've got the better lads back.
Yeah.
That certainly affected certainly the last game against Spurs the other night, and then the Leeds game, I think we had 1 or 2 back for that as well. So who's come back? Kent's back, Shea Ojo's back. We've now got... I don't know if Ward's played yet for the under-21s. But that's helping. Suddenly they look stronger sides again. The sort of sides you win youth cups with. So I think it's that as much as anything.
I mean, that's obviously a factor, and that was probably a factor against Tottenham, was it, Andy? But before that, the game against Leeds, I'll just read out the team who beat Leeds 1-0 at Prince Park in the Under-21 Premier League Cup. It was Fulton in goal, Whelan right back, Hart left back, Cleary and Colker played, Virtue, Wilson, O'Hanlon, Lennon, Phillips and Trickett Smith. So it's quite a young team, because a lot of them were involved against Exeter, weren't they? Who you think of as the under-21. So that's a pretty young team there, but they play well against Leeds, didn't they?
They did. I mean, it was a hard old game, that, John. Yeah. I mean, it was 1-0 and Leeds played well as well. It was one of those nights where, you know, there was never going to be much in it. I remember speaking to Bealey after that game, and he said it was pretty much an under-18s team, right? Yeah. I mean, we said didn't want to talk about the under-18s, but a lot of that, one of those under-21s were under-18s, and they did really well. And there's a few who've been mixing between the 18s and 21s who've been showing their worth for both teams. Yeah. And we also should, I agree with Rob. I think a lot of it is the players come back. I think a lot of it is the sort of sense that they now see a progression towards that first team. You know, there's suddenly there's a light at the end of that very, very long Premier League tunnel that all of them were, you know, trapped behind.
Yeah, I mean, that's a big deal, isn't it, Jack? You know, I felt watching the under-21 sometimes this season, there was a few of them going through the motions. They were playing maybe a bit more individually rather than as a team, and it just seemed like there wasn't any, you know, it was a glorified friendly, whereas now when you watch the under-21s, I don't know, you know, I think all those factors probably have come to pass to say that, you know, they're just playing with a lot more purpose, they're playing together, you know, and it seems to mean a lot more to them. You can see that when they score.
Definitely. I mean, especially for the second goal as well, for the build up to that goal, you know, Matty Virtue, he linked up well with Ojo all game, and, you know, Ojo obviously gleaming with confidence. That great goal against Exeter in the replay, it was a good ball across, and Sinclair doing what he's done usually and tapping the ball away. Yeah, especially Ryan Kent as well. I think now he's starting to see a lot more end productivity to his play. You know, he had a lovely little drop of the shoulder. He was unlucky. The ball was tough conditions, and the ball, you know, sadly went wide of the post. But definite progress. Definitely.
Yeah, I mean, they played really well against Tottenham. I'll read out the team against Tottenham. It was Bogdan in goal, 8 changes overall. Bogdan in goal, Virtue, Hart, Kolka, Enrique, Stewart, who actually got sent off for 2 yellows in the game, Ojo, Chilavella, Sinclair, Brannigan and Kent. So, I mean, that's a real strong team, that, isn't it? A lot of these players who've been out and about on loan, Rob, and doing pretty well coming in and all playing together. And Tottenham had a strong team. Andros Townsend, who's just got the £12 million, playing for them. But they were dominant throughout.
Tottenham had 1 or 2 out as well, but Andros Townsend makes a big difference. You have a £15 million player, an England international. But the Liverpool team, it's about as strong as the teams we put out against Exeter, more or less. I mean, you've got Enrique and Kolka there, who are experienced Premier League players. And there's a fair, as you said, the rest of it is a team you could see in an FA Cup tie or League Cup tie near you any day soon. Yeah, and I think it showed on the night. I mean, Spurs have been a bit of a force in youth football for a while now, so it's always good to beat them. But we dominated, and although they had their moments, I thought we were relatively comfortable.
And one of our best players was Sam Hart, who was up against Townsend. You would never have given whatever Newcastle have paid 12 million or whatever. They definitely weren't watching that game because they'd have bought Sam Hart. Left back, that's who they should have bought.
Yeah, okay.
I mean, absolutely fantastic.
I was gonna come on to Sam Hart, but let's go hard and heavy on him now. He's playing so well, Jack. I mean, there seems to be. I saw an interview after the game with Beale, and he was saying, we've got a wealth of left backs now. All of a sudden, Brad Smith, who's getting in for the first team. But I mean, Sam Hart playing so well. Maguire, who's played friendlies for the first team and looked pretty good. But I mean, Hart's he's only 19. He just looks phenomenal this season, doesn't he?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing's been his positioning as well. He's not been getting caught out.
No.
He's been very strong. He's read the line really well, and it was nice to see him actually keeping up pace with Andros Townsend. There was one bit in the first half when I think Townsend had maybe done it, but that was literally a full 90 minutes against him. He really should have been proud of himself.
And gets forward, Andy. He always wants to attack. He's got that recovery pace that Jack was talking about there. We've been able to get in and go both ways. But he looks set up for Jurgen Klopp, doesn't he?
I mean, he loves bombing on, doesn't he? And he's got the confidence when he gets there as well. He's always shouting at the forward players to make the right moves for him when he's there, and he seems to have had a burst of confidence as well from somewhere. I don't know whether it's just you're more sort of comfortable in your environment at times. When you go in your first day at work, you're a little bit quiet and shy, and by the second week you're demanding someone makes you a decent brew, aren't you? So I think he's just showing the confidence of playing for the under-21s more, and he's sort of like a gallops down that side, and I really like him. I have to say, he's really caught the eye. I mean, it would take a blind man not to see the talent he's had the last few games.
Very impressive.
I think the fullback position, I don't think it's an accident. You've got Randall and Smith who've properly knocked on the door now. How many games has Randall played? I think he played Southampton. He's played at least 3. Yeah. He started 3 times for Liverpool's first team. That's some going for a lad of his status with the under-21s.
Yeah.
And Brad Smith on the other side. If you're a fullback, you're going, aye. I'm nearly as good as him.
Yeah.
And maybe one of the things to remember is, and this isn't to downplay Conor Randall at all, but Conor Randall is a good, solid player.
Yeah.
But if you look at that group of players he was playing, and you wouldn't have picked him out as being the most skillful, the most likely to succeed. So I think it's a sign to the lads that sometimes it's just about what the club needs and the timing, and your chance will come. And if you get your head down and just keep working and doing all the right things and improving, which is what Conor Randall's done, and also having poise on the pitch. He goes onto the pitch, Conor Randall, and you never feel like he's overawed to be playing for the first team. That's what we see with John Flanagan, isn't it? Poise it's a massive word that so few. I mean, the other night when we were getting knocked out of our stride by Stoke, it needed people with poise to grab the ball and get hold of it, and there were so few of them on the pitch, and Flanagan was one of them. I think the young lads can see that there's an opportunity, even if they perhaps aren't the most talented member of the group.
Yeah, I mean, Flanagan's coming back is interesting. I think one of the reasons there's been this set of near vacancies in the full-back positions is we lost Joe Gomez early on. Flanagan's been out, and therefore Moreno. We've been praying for Moreno and Klein, and they played every single game. So these lads must have been seeing this. You say Conor Randall, hardly a shining light. Flanagan coming back in is a double-edged sword for them, because on one hand he's a beacon of what you can achieve. On the other hand, he's going to nail down the cover spot now, isn't he? Really, between the other two two fullbacks.
Yeah, it would be interesting to see where he goes with Flanagan, really. Right back or left back, or whether he's, as you say, one who's kind of filling in, or has he got to start it? I mean, Jurgen gave him man of the match, didn't he? So maybe one of those two boys needs to be worrying about the place. But we'll leave that sort of talk for another show. Were you a bit surprised by what he went for at centre half, Andy? He's gone for Culkin and Enrique there. I don't know. I know there's been a few injuries at under 21 level. Are they still knocking about? Because it just seems to me that you'd rather give a young lad a go than Enrique.
Yeah, I don't know whether it's still coming from on high that we might still have centre half problems, so we want Enrique ready.
Right.
I mean, if you remember when Enrique had that horrendous game over at Lee Sports Village against Man United, where he played centre half, and everyone was like, "What's he playing centre half for?" And at the time, I thought it was because they wanted to make sure Brad Smith had the left back slot. And I asked Michael Beale about it afterwards. Did you play Enrique centre half just to give Brad Smith the left back slot? And he then played that cameo against Southampton a few days later, obviously, and his career sort of took off. But he said, no, the club asked me to play Enrique at centre half. But that was obviously a long term thing that then came to fruition in type against Exeter in the Cup, because obviously Enrique played centre half after a fashion for 2 games there. So I think they want to keep Enrique ticking over there just in case he's needed. Now you might say, well, we've got Corker now, and some of the other lads, Lovren's obviously back and everything else, but the other question is, are they? I don't know. Obviously Enrique's likely to go at the end of the season, so you can't imagine they're trying to do anything for him. So I'm a bit bemused. I would have expected to see Dan Cleary.
Yeah, it's a shame really, because I thought Cleary played really well against Leeds, Jack, and then you've got someone like Tom Brewitt, who I know had the problems with concussion, but he was on the bench against Leeds, so you presumably think he's on his way and he's back, and again he's not getting his game, and you think, well, you'd rather see them lads developing if we believe in them. They're only 18, 19, young for centre halves. I thought Cleary did really well next to Culker in that Leeds game, not just in terms of performance, but I think he got a lot out of it. And you'd be better off, I think, playing someone like Cleary or Brewitt. And again, they might have had little knocks, but it looked to me like Andy said that they've just decided to go with Enrique. And I don't know, I'd rather see a younger lad next to Culker myself.
Yeah, I think maybe as well with Andros Townsend playing, maybe that might have been a little bit of a factor. I think the striker Miller's a good player as well. And they had Pritchard as well, who's England international at that age. So maybe it was a little bit of experience they went for, and they wanted a solid base to build off. But yeah, as you said, you'd like to see them. You'd like to see that pathway always being open. Yeah. That added incentive to be there for the players to get there in the end.
I think it is, as Andy said, is exceptional circumstances though. We've got Skirtle and Lovren out. I know Lovren's just beginning to come back. Saka was out and can't play 2 games in a week. Touré's the same. You think there comes a stage where, Jesus Christ, Toure and Sacco both have to be rested this weekend. We might have to pair Enrique and Corker in a game any day soon. I know that hopefully that's easing up now. I also did wonder whether there was a degree of having a little look against a good youth side like Tottenham, for example. Put a solid back 2 and give them a platform to play off, rather than it be too much of a pinball end-to-end game. Create that solidity, and then maybe you see more on the ball of Ojo and Kent.
Almost to help to the players, Rob. Give that pace. I only watched the game on the telly, and I actually was thinking that on the sofa. I wonder whether he just wanted to sort of, let's play real solid back 4, and then we'll see what the other lads can do and get them back in. And I think Cleary's fit. I had a word with Tom Brewitt after the Leeds game when he was on the bench, and
he was watching last night, the under 18s as well.
They are easing him back after the. He told me he went in that Morecambe game at half time, and they asked him the score, and he had no idea what the score was. I
had a laugh with him. I saw him again at the Man United game, the under 18s. Well, because he always goes to watch the under 18s. He's a good lad, Tom, and he said. Told me the same story. He said he didn't want to let out, so he went out. I thought, I'll guess 0-0 because that's safe. So he guessed that, but he was gutted because he obviously thought he might have got on the bench against Exeter, which is the chance.
Well, he was a bit gutted about that, wasn't he? He thought, because obviously I think Masterson went
down,
and you'd have Tom probably,
just in terms of age. Masterson's obviously playing for the under 18s at the moment, but I'm sure Tom will get his chance, and it's good to see him watching the under 18s, as I said last night. There's a few centre-halves missing out at the moment, and I understand your reasons, and you've argued them quite well in terms of exceptional circumstances, but it just got me on thinking that generally, is there an issue, Rob, at the moment? And I can go 2 ways on this, so I'm interested in your opinion. We brought all these lads back from loan, but it sort of means we can't get games for everyone. You know, are there too many players here now? And one of the benefits of the loan system was the fact that we had a good young under-21 team. You know, I say good, they weren't winning that many games, but, you know, they were 18, 19-year-old lads who were kind of, you know, playing a lot and getting a lot of game time. Whereas now, you know, you bring these lads back and, you know, they're all getting in the team and they're playing well. But, you know, if you see the likes of Harry Wilson, he couldn't get in against Tottenham. He's on the bench, so he's gone from the Crew bench of people saying, "Oh, he's not getting enough game time at Crew," to sitting on the bench for our under-21s. You might have seen, you get someone like O'Hanlon, who's been playing pretty well, I think, for the under-21s this season. Suddenly he can't get in, and there's a few other lads as well who are now, and you kind of wonder. So part of me thinks, well, it's survival of the fittest, and the best are going to play, and only one or two of them are likely to make it anyway. So, you know, don't worry too much. You know, if they can't get in the under-21 team, then how are they ever going to play for us? But then part of me also thinks maybe they'd be better off for changing the system slightly. I know Liverpool can't do it, but having under-17s, under-19s, and then say an under-22s or an under-23s, because we seem to have quite a few lads at the moment who I wouldn't rule out kind of doing well at Liverpool, but are just too old for the under-18s. So they're either 18 but it's a school year thing, or they're just 19, and all of a sudden, you know, you look at how strong our under-21s are now and how many of them you want to see get games, and you wonder how some of them are going to fit in.
I would like to see some sort of under-23 league. I mean, the old Central League, the show's named after, there was much more of it wasn't about a focus on youth football, although obviously the kids coming through are important, but because you didn't have the substitute ranges there, your squad players were getting games in those environments. And, you know, there's lads on our bench. I mean, Joe Allen, you know, until recently wasn't getting enough football. You do wonder, it might be you might get decent crowds if you have a game where you got 5 or 6 who are making the bench and not getting a regular game, and you mix them with the lads returning from loan. Maybe that's the right balance to it. But as it stands at the moment, the logic I see is, I think when you ship out, what you noticed at the beginning of the season, where suddenly a glut of lads had left the under-21 setup, suddenly it looked quite denuded, the under-21 side, and you felt maybe are the lads being promoted too quickly, and maybe the under-20 are a bit out of their depth, are they struggling a bit? I think all that happens is if you bring the elite, if you call them that, the lone lads back, you push everyone back down again, so it should strengthen the under-21s, the under-18s, the under-16s, because players aren't suddenly being forced or rushed into playing above their age group. Wouldn't that happen?
Yeah, well, sort of, but I mean, it happens in some cases. I mean, you look at the team you played against Leeds, and they are the way as a lot of under-18s. You know, they had Phillips starting, Ajaria coming off the bench, and Whelan playing right back. And I thought they all did really well, first of all. But, you know, you'd maybe rather have them on under-18 level. But my concern is the lads who are maybe 18, 19 at the moment. Say Harry Wilson's an example. You know, he's too old for the under-18s, but he's at the stage where you think, well, if everyone's fit and, you know, then people are coming back, then, you know, you probably wouldn't start him ahead of Kent, ahead of Sinclair, although Sinclair's an interesting one we can talk about, and Ojo. So you're thinking, well, is the 3 years is quite a big... There's a lot of players in that 3-year age group between 18 and 21, and what loan football was actually doing was pretty much making sure everyone got a game, whereas bringing them all back, there's some lads who are going to miss out now, isn't there?
No, undoubtedly, and you know, Harry Wilson should be fighting for a starting spot. He's got that talent at under 21 level, even at this age, you know. But you know, it's heresy to say it, but in my opinion, you know, Jurgen Klopp's wrong on this. You know, I just think he's wrong, and I don't think he's been here long enough to understand that he's wrong. And I see his point in terms of it's not just about individuals, it's about creating a team to come through together. And, you know, and you often hear about that in English football, this croppy young lads that come through together and create then a team in the first team. Brilliant. But as you say, there will be casualties of that. And chiefly the lads who would be the casualties are the ones who are the slightly later developers.
Yeah.
And some of those can go on to be hell of a players.
Yeah.
And what the loan system did was two things either. You sent out some of your best lads on loan, and so you created the vacuum for some of those to come in and play, perhaps lose a few games, which is what happened to our under-21s earlier in the year, but then get to a level and start leveling off and start winning games. Or you saw, you know, you keep your elite ones and build them through as a team, and then some of your, you know, maybe your 7 out of 10 players, you send them out on loan and see if it can bring them up a bit.
Yeah.
And I see that as a win-win. And I do know that some of the academy lads' agents are really concerned about this strategy of keeping them all here. Because they, I think, would be in your camp, John. that there is a worry that where are they getting their football?
Yeah, because it's a lot of footballers, isn't it? A lot of people to get games, Jack. And I don't know, is it something that... I mean, there is a possibility that this is just a short-term strategy for Jurgen Klopp, that he's just gone, right, I've just come to the football club. I want to see everyone. I want everyone here. And then maybe towards the end of the season, you might see a few 1 month, 2 month loans, or he might decide from next season to go back to that when he knows a lot more about what he's had. So it might be a short term strategy. That's possible, isn't it?
I think it might just be a little recon mission for him at the moment, knowing what he's actually got. I mean, I remember him saying that when he was at Dortmund, they didn't really have loans out there, but I'm sure they have a B team, don't they?
Exactly,
in their non-league. So it's a luxury that he had there, and they haven't really got it here. And I do think it is a good idea to get an extra team in the age group, whether it is under 19s and then you drop it down to under 17s and have the under 21. But yeah, I do think at the moment he just wants to see what he's got. I mean, with players like, I mean, there's exceptional circumstances. I think certainly in Ojo's case, maybe Brannigan's case, I don't think it'd be worth sending them on loan, because I do think they have a genuine chance of getting into that side, and the goal should be there for them. But as I said, the ones, maybe as Andy said, the 7 out of 10 players, it would be a good idea, especially for like Harry Wilson, and if they done that, I think there is ups and downs, there's positives and negatives of it, and I think next season you will really see what he really thinks about it.
Still hasn't stopped them sending players on loan, has it?
Canos is still out.
Fulham went. In the last couple of weeks, there's another player that they obviously think will get football and improve on a loan.
But isn't that an example in a way, possibly, Andy, of your 7 out of 10s? Perhaps they will give them the loans. Because to the counter argument to your point, I agree with you on the 7 out of 10 things, but I think what was seen slightly absurd earlier in the season, even in the Rodgers and crossover to the Klopp era, was, say he was at Bordeaux away, and then we had some early League Cup rounds and it was Bournemouth at home, and you're saying some of the lads being picked and put into first team aren't as good as the lads we're sending out on loan. The fact that Shohei Ojo was back for Exeter twice is great. He should have started in Bordeaux, as should Ryan Kent. They would, you know what I mean? They were tearing it up.
Yeah. Well, we mentioned Randall. You could have argued at the start of the season he's behind Ryan McLaughlin.
Yeah.
And Ryan McLaughlin is sitting off in Aberdeen not playing, and suddenly Conor Randall's playing at Anfield. It's a funny sort of situation. Yeah,
I do. I think Jurgen was. I think his view was, and as Jack was saying, I think he wants to have a look. And Danny Ward's maybe another example is. You bet if you've got a crop of 80 you think they are the best of our youth players, and you might call on them, especially and give them a go in the lesser competitions, then I think if there is a case for keeping them at the club. I do agree those bubbling under who may be, but it's almost a signal that they're not going to make it. You go away, and if you tear up a streak, then we'll have you back, which I think is what you were saying on the 7 out of 10s.
Yeah, I mean, I just think you do one or the other, and you make the argument on one side of it, and then I think that leaves a group of players who can still benefit from a loan. And I'd be very surprised, if Liverpool don't have a certain number of players on loan next season, even after, because I think Jack's right, he'll have a look at what he's got, he'll see where they're at, and either you then trim the squad and go, like, we actually don't feel this, we need this number of players, and we're going to release you, or you think, okay, well, these lads still, we know they've got a certain amount of talent. We will try and see what they can do in a football league environment. And if we're not going to create this extra layer of football, then I can't see, unless you're going to arrange an inordinate number of friendlies, where else are they playing? Sort of, 11 against 11 at the academy twice a week.
Okay, so here's a question for you, Andy. There's too many players, not enough games. Why are we bothering with Sinclair? He's leaving in the summer. He doesn't want to start. They're going to screw us over the fee, doing a bit of jiggly-pokery with Watford and being abroad. So why? There's a shortage of games. Why are we playing him?
Well, shop window is the obvious.
Well, we're not going to get any money, are we?
Well, it depends who we sell him to, isn't it? Because we don't have to sell him to Watford or whichever branch of Watford PLC, Watford Italy or Watford Spain or whoever it is. Also, what all you'd say about the lad is he's never stopped being given his all up front, I think, and whatever you say about Jerome Sinclair, he's our best centre forward at under 21 level, do you know what I mean? So he's got Eddie Ward as an agent. Suddenly from having no stories about him in the papers, there's a story every other day in the national papers about Jerome Sinclair that the people writing the stories have never seen play football, do you know what I mean? And that's slightly frustrating. And if you got a reasonable price for Jerome Sinclair, I don't think it's bad business. I'm not 100% sure that he's a Premier League striker. I don't think he's shown us enough to suggest that he is. He took his goal well at Exeter. But one thing I would say is he's never stopped giving 100%, and he's working really hard. And I think in his situation where he's obviously frustrated about things, then you've got to give the lad some credit for that.
Yeah, some credit, Jack. But also I can go either way on the Sinclair thing in terms of whether we should be playing him or not. But Andy's right, he is the best centre forward at the club at under 21 level, and there's an argument to think that if you're looking to develop Ojo and you're looking to develop Ryan Kent and the midfielders behind him, you're better off playing them with a really good forward who they can look to serve, who's making the right runs, rather than sticking a lad who's not really a striker up front, because that can hurt the guys trying to learn with him, can't it?
Definitely. I think for the opposition as well, if Jerome Sinclair's playing, especially at that age level, it maybe he's in there at mind as well.
Yeah.
And I thought they were all in sync, them three up front, Ojo, Kent, and they seemed to go back through the team and it was a confidence all over the pitch. Some of his runs were good. He won a free kick off one of his really good runs. He was actually in on goal, and I think he's just I think they want to win games at this stage now. They didn't have a very good start to the season. They probably got a better chance of doing that when Sinclair's in the team.
Yeah.
And
goals means confidence for everyone and things like that. So maybe I'm being a bit harsh on him. I don't know. But
by the way, John, we saw a very late cameo for the in the Youth Cup from Tony Gomez last night.
Absolutely.
And Tony Gomez in 2 years will blitz Jerome Sinclair out of the water. Absolutely no
fantastic. All right, we'll go on to the under-18s. That is sent us seamlessly thanks to Andy Kelly, who knows what he's doing.
And I haven't even seen an agenda. So
I don't tend to bother with them, mate. I just want to give a quick shout out before we do move on to Virtue. Actually, he's only 18, isn't he, Andy Virtue? But I thought he played really, really well, especially against Tottenham. Linked up really well all night with Ojo down the right hand side. They looked a real good duo there. And
he's
only 18.
Yeah, and though Michael Beale would describes him as a late developer, we were just talking about late developers as a player, one of those players who's never really stood out, but is actually, he's been playing centre mid. Seems to like playing against Tottenham, because he banged in that 20-yarder against them away as well, when everyone was going, Matty Virtue can do that or whatever. None of us knew that. And I thought Jack said that pass to Ojo just
unbelievable.
Shows he's got a lovely picture of the of the pitch in his head, and there's nothing quite as beautiful as a ball inside a fullback, is there? And then Ojo, who's just turning into a monster at that level. I saw on the telly they thought Ojo would put it straight in, but it was such a good cross that they didn't realise that it was just a yard out for Sinclair.
Yeah, fantastic. I mean, there were lots of good performances. I thought Shirley and Brannigan did really well as well. If people have maybe watched Brannigan for the seniors and not sure what all the fuss is about, watch him in that game against Tottenham.
I think that number 10 role for him is pivotal for his performance. I think he likes playing with that Roman field in front of him. That's where he's at his best, really.
I just think he's played a little bit within himself at senior level so far, but but that does happen. It's the new guy at school thing that Andy
Is he not still lacking goals, I think? I know we've said this before.
Possibly, but I mean, I don't know. I mean, it depends how you want to play him. Really, I just think he plays with much more purpose on 21 level, much more confidence, and maybe he never will be a Liverpool player. I don't know, but certainly got qualities to.
I think he feels he's lacking goals because he likes scoring. Brannigan, he pinched a penalty off Harry Wilson, didn't he? Against was it against Celtic near the last minute where. Wilson's the pen taker, and Brannigan pinched it off him and give Harry a big thank you after, and it was obviously felt like he needed to hit the back of the net with one, and Harry let him have it. And there's always a goal in Brannigan because he loves getting in that position on the edge of the box where he takes a shot and he's got a good dig on him, hasn't he? So it'll happen for him, I think.
Yeah, hopefully. It's one to maybe develop. Goal scorer midfielders often develop later on, so one to maybe to watch on that. I'll just mention in that under-21 cup I talked about against, they went through against Leeds. The next round could be against Everton. Everton are playing tonight, aren't they, Andy?
I'm not sure when it is. It's against Brighton.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's tonight.
I keep asking our Everton lads, when are you playing Brighton? Because so hopefully Everton will come through that, and we'll get a Merseyside derby.
We will have a cup derby after all, but that should be good. And the under-21s are playing at Anfield soon, aren't they?
They are playing against City on Sunday week at Anfield, and the club are trying to make a real sort of buzz around that game. I know they're giving the Echo quite a few tickets to give away on a competition.
Is it a league game, Andy?
Yes, it is, and we obviously don't get to see them at Anfield very often, which is the argument for me. And I mean, I felt we had a better crowd at the Youth Cup at Tranmere last night. I don't know what you thought. It felt like there was a few more there.
Definitely.
And that hopefully that can build up. But we do need to see them at Anfield. We all remember going whenever there was 4,000 or 5,000, on the Cup watching those Youth Cup games in years gone by. And so Man City, obviously, have a very good team. and ourselves, and that should be a real showcase for them. I'm sure it'll be live on LFC as well, and great for people to actually go and see them in Liverpool.
Yeah, I used to go and watch the reserves when it was Anfield all the time, and there was a Mackie D's at the back of the stand we used to talk about. This is a big issue for me then. But one thing I do worry about if they move back in this direction is the quality of the pitch. Our pitch was looking a bit raw.
I don't think they're looking at too many games. It's about 3 a season they're looking at, isn't it, Andy? I don't think it's huge amounts, but I think it does change how they play. We will talk about the under-18s now, because I think just by playing at Tranmere last night, I think added a bit more of an edge to it. It was a Youth Cup game, but I felt they kind of played a little bit differently within there. I don't know what you thought, Andy, but they started a little bit nervous, but then that's not necessarily a bad thing, because you want them to overcome that, and they really did in the end. But did you sense it a little bit different to how they were playing, because they're so at home at Kirby, they train there, then they go and play there, and they play like they're playing in the backyard, don't they? Whereas last night, a little bit more edge to the play, a few crosswords at each other and things like that.
Yeah, I mean, I put that down to the Youth Cup, because it does that to them.
Rather than the Princeton Park.
Yeah, just because I think it's the big tournament for them. They all want to do really well in Youth Cup. It is the pinnacle of youth football for them. Loads of them only get 1 year at it. Sometimes you're lucky and you get 2 years at it. And I think it is important that they try and get that base. Spoke to Bealey about it after the first game over there, and he was saying like him and Alex Singlethorpe had come over the week before, and they're saying like we really need to find a base for this team, because they've had St Helens, they've had Chester, and he was very complimentary about obviously everything that everyone does for them there. But it'd be really nice, and I think they feel playing at Tranmere, it's just that bit closer to Liverpool, and there's a bit more of a Liverpool fan base that'll get more people there.
So is this going to be a long-term thing, is it?
I don't think any massive long-term deal has been done yet. But I think
by long-term, I mean for the rest of the season.
Yeah, I think so, and I think certainly Liverpool would be keen, and I think obviously there's I'm sure Tranmere get something out of it as well, and I think it's a situation that's one of those that could work well for both. So I really hope it continues, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I mean, I was chatting to the stewards on the way in, and they were saying, thanks a lot for coming, you really help in keeping this club going. And you forget that, don't you, about Tranmere, Rob, because Tranmere you see is a big club, but they're in the conference now, they're going to be struggling to keep that ground going, it's a big ground, and it's kind of way of maybe just going down and supporting just for that. They were delighted to get my £3 for the parking, I'm telling you, and you just kind of almost feel bad.
It keeps them sort of relevant, doesn't it, in some tiny way.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, it's a Liverpool supporting crowd are going to go there. It's a few more hundred that can see Tranmere and remember the name, and when they eventually do come back up, if they do, hopefully, people go, that might be my local team.
They might see it's a nice ground and maybe go and watch them play non-league football. You can get there on Maysville, and there's a lovely bar in the main stand. I couldn't believe how nice it was. I almost didn't want to leave at half time. They had the Man City Everton game on, but I mean, they played well though, didn't they, Rob? Under 18s won 3-0 in the end, settled down, and they were, I mean, it was kind of good win to go through in the Youth Cup, but good to kind of go through in a bit of style, and that's what he did, I thought, last night.
Yeah, I've just seen the highlights of it, and there's a lot of heat on Adam Woodburn again, and it keeps coming. Adam Phillips is very well, and Ben Woodburn.
That was the combination last night.
Yeah, exactly.
So maybe I think you've
synergy, a super player. Yeah, this hybrid. Yeah, and it was a brilliant off a long ball, a brilliant finish by Ben Woodburn, and he's been one of the stars of the academy really this season, hasn't he?
Yeah, I mean, he really has, Jack. I mean, it's one of those where I'm sort of feeling at the moment, I don't want to talk about Ben Woodburn too much. He's like our nice little secret, but it's getting harder and harder if he keeps scoring lobs like that.
Yeah, I mean, it was almost Suarez-esque the way he took it down his chest.
We're trying to talk him down.
Keep that on the down low. Well, no, yeah, it was, and there was those all-round play as well. He really was a handful for them. There was he kept on drifting out to the left, I thought, which was good, because it allowed the Jara to keep on making runs through the middle, which he linked up really well. And taking that goal, it wasn't an easy finish. It really
certainly
wasn't.
Not in the wind. Yeah,
definitely.
Yeah, I mean, they missed Woodburn a bit in the last game. They actually got beat against Sunderland, didn't they, which was a shame. They went 1-0 up, and then two pretty late goals were what the winner was very late. And sorry, but they missed Woodburn in that game, didn't they, as well as a couple of others. I don't think Phillips played either, and there was no Whelan because he just played for the under-21. So they missed a few, but still disappointing to get that defeat, because they're very proud of the runs they've been going on.
Yeah, I mean, they're obviously second in the league. They would have gone top if they'd won that game, albeit that City would have had a game in hand to go above them. And especially I spoke to Critch about it after the game, Neil Critchley, the manager, and he said he's not one to look at tables, as we know, and we've spoken on the show before, but he said we're just 2 games after that to come in the league now. They were a wee bit disappointed, and he didn't play Ben Woodburn, and it was he said they got, he's a 16-year-old playing at under 18 level, and they just got to manage his game time, and I think they were keeping him back a little bit for the Youth Cup. They didn't want to happen to a lad who can make the difference, and sure enough he did make the difference, because first goal was always going to be very important in that game last night, and that little bit of class. And the way, my favourite bit about the whole goal was the way when he did that little chip, the nonchalant run off, as if he does it every day in training. That's it. That just shows you the kid's a player, isn't it?
Because anyone with less confidence maybe would have tried to follow it in, because there was no guarantees it was going to go over the line, but he was just, I know exactly how to hit these lobs.
If that one doesn't go in, I'll do another one in 5 minutes anyway, so don't waste your time running
Absolutely
after it.
Brilliant. But as I say, it was a big game. It was a big game for Cardiff. Cardiff brought quite a few fans, and obviously kind of a big game for them, so good practice, but a much stronger team in that game. I'm interested in Ajari kind of playing a little bit deeper. I've always thought him as a forward, but as you said there, Jack, he was playing a kind of a central midfield role, wasn't he?
Yeah, he carried the ball well, I thought, and he done well to actually track back. There was a few times when he had Humphrey centre mid for them, he was really good on the ball. He kept on getting forward, and he pretty much took him out of the game, to be honest. And there was a few times when he was carrying it, maybe losing it a little bit, but you're not too bothered about that at this stage. It was just the idea was good enough. Yeah,
where do you see his position, Ajari? I see him more of as kind of a wide forward, personally, Andy. I know he came, to go back to the under-21s, he came on against that game against Leeds and looked the best player on the pitch, didn't he? So he's obviously got the talent, but he seems to be playing him more and more in this midfield role, don't he? Yeah. Why do you think that is?
This isn't going to be helpful, but I have not got a clue. Because Alfie Ajaria is the player I least understand in youth football. He's got these telescopic legs that appear from nowhere. He's got unbelievable touch of class when it wants to arrive. Yeah. And then I reckon if I was in a 5-a-side, I wouldn't pick him in my team if it was just the Echo lads. Because
I don't know, I've seen some of the Echo lads.
We've got some good players, but I don't understand the lad. I just don't know where he plays. I don't know what he is. He produces moments of genius. I've written loads of nice things about him. I've written loads of what on earth was Ajaria doing things about him, and I just don't understand him. I've described him as I said to Critch one day, he's just an enigma, isn't he, Ajaria? I don't understand. They obviously need to sort something in his head out, I think. Because he can be a wonderful footballer, absolutely. Yeah. I think he did play well last night, but I don't understand him, so I pass to someone with a better knowledge of the game.
I don't know. Maybe they're just trying to make him a bit more of a rounder player. I don't know. His touch is just so good, isn't it? And he finds movement. You feel like there's a player in there somewhere, and I think that's why they kind of stick with him and hoping that it just kind of all clicks for him. Because as you say, his natural talent is phenomenal, and he's a goal scorer as well. Someone else who we could be talking about, I suppose, is Tony Gomez. You just mentioned him. He didn't start, which I was a little bit surprised about, because I know he's a little bit raw, and I know he misses a few chances, but I just always have him in the team personally, Andy. And you saw how he did for that third goal. You don't want to go overboard, but and I can't think of any defence who could be able to cope with actually what he did for that third goal. You put him up against Premier League defenders, and it's pace and power, it's shifting it quickly. It's fantastic to watch, isn't it?
He's just this incredible ball of energy, isn't it? Yeah. And the link up in the midfield that sort of then saw him turn and go off and then do that sort of drag shot thing that he did. Yeah. I wasn't quite convinced that Brooks Lennon was onside when he finished up. I haven't seen any replay, so I may be doing him a disservice there. He's probably about 3 yards on, but Tony Gomez. I love him. I really love him. We did brilliant. James Pearce did a brilliant in-depth look at his background as a player in the Echo a few weeks ago. I'd commend anyone to go and have a nosy online on it. Yeah. It's the only sort of in-depth piece you'll have read on Tony Gomez. And Pearce, he said, he was an absolutely lovely fella. Yeah. And him and his dad have had this sort of incredible journey to get to Liverpool. Yeah,
his brother's over here as well, isn't it? His brother goes down to the academy sometimes to watch.
I think he did.
Assured me he was rubbish.
But there's a really heartwarming story to how they got here. and he's a really nice chap, and he loves heading the ball in the air, even though he's not the tallest. He's got a great leap on him. He loves scoring goals. You could tell when he come on 83rd minute, he was desperate to go and get a goal, wasn't he? And he's sort of like he's still really young, and he had a nasty injury early in the season just as he scored that hat trick against Middlesbrough. That was like, I think, my moment of the year, which I completely loved that game. And I mean, I love Tony Gomez, and he's got loads and loads and loads of stuff that he's going to have to learn and progress, stay injury free, all the things we know about young footballers. But to everyone listening, he's an exciting Liverpool football player.
Certainly is. They seem to decide to use him as an impact sub last night, Jack, and I understand that because as we've said, a lot of his game is raw, and they played quite well as a front three, I thought, last night. But I just feel like in terms of ceilings, in terms of potential, his is right up there, and I'd just rather just see him starting all the time. Even if he move his position around, sometimes they played him up front as a 9 on his own, sometimes they played him a bit more wide. I'm not really too bothered about that, but I'd rather just see him on the pitch as much as possible, because that's the only way he's going to develop and work on the things in his game that Andy's right to say he does still need to work on.
I mean, I actually thought the game was quite close when he came on, even though it was 2-0. I thought Cardiff was still playing well, and then he come on and he stretched the game so well. That run was class, and I think he would have good versatility. I think you're right. As a wide player, I'd like to see him out there. He could cut in and have a shot. He's got a really good shot on him. And as you said, he linked up the play brilliantly. But Brooks Lennon and him looked like they could really go. I think for Brooks Lennon as well, the ceiling, I don't know how high it goes, but definitely the first team in the next few years for them too.
My fact I found out about Brooks Lennon this week was that his dad's called John, which I don't think there was ever any doubt which football team he was going to end up at.
He's had some issues with work permits and things like that, or getting his visa or whatever. Brooks Lennon has it, which may be why people haven't seen him as much as
it took a while for him to come through, but they are very excited about him, and they describe him as a sort of real throwback centre forward. Just does those, he wants to be in the position that centre forward is, and he doesn't have like serum pace or loads of tricks or anything, but you just think that he's a decent package at this stage, don't you? And
I thought he played with a bit of swag last night, to be honest, when he was on the ball. A lot of stuff he done, he come off, there was a lot of flicks and turns in there, and it's fair play to him, when it was coming off, it looks great.
And you talk about players who enjoy scoring. I mean, he was absolutely delighted to get
2 yards out, probably offside. Get in there.
Absolutely get in there. Yeah, they were having a bit of fun with the crowd as well, enjoying it, and why not? You know what I mean? They need to get there. So hopefully the under-18s can go on another little run. As I say, they got beat 2-1 away at Sunderland, a late goal, but it was a slightly weaker side. And before that, they had 2 really good wins, especially the home one against Manchester United. They won 3-0. Tony Gomez was great in that. I think Woodburn got a couple of goals, and from memory went down to that, and played very well. So hopefully they can get another run. We'll let you know about the Youth Cup next round as soon as we hear any. Anyone else want to mention anyone?
It's just a shame for Connor Yates, really. Cody Yates, sorry, wasn't it, at the end?
For
the under-18, sorry for getting the injury.
Centre half,
Corey Whelan.
Corey Whelan,
sorry, I mixed up there.
Real shame for Corey. It seemed a bit innocuous, didn't it?
Yeah, it was the lad Elvis, and I can't pronounce his second name. He was in a challenge with for Cardiff, who was putting himself about, but I don't think there was anything you could have said that was dirty in the challenge. It was almost like shoulder to shoulder, I think. Yeah. But he's gone over on his ankle, and I think that's what they're worried about. So they'll obviously have to do all the tests and everything, especially since he got himself, on the score sheet as well.
It was a nice finish.
Brilliant. Adam Phillips just totally saw him as well, because I watched the replay on this, and Phillips saw him from about 40-50 yards away. He was sneaking around the back and stuck a bit of curl on it, and the two of them, lovely goal. And then I think it was the 60th minute he went off, wasn't it? And he's missed, but George Johnston came in and was really rock solid as well.
Yeah, did all right. So I mean, hopefully for Corey Whelan, hopefully that's all okay. And because he's, as I say, he played really well for the under-21s at right back, which is I always thought him as a centre half, and I know he's played a few times at right back, but I thought he looks like a centre half playing right back. But against Leeds, he was bursting forward, he was getting forward well, and it seems to be a bad time for his own development, I think, wouldn't it, in terms of getting an injury now.
Yeah, definitely, because the under-21s tend to finish the season with quite a few games. Whereas it's the other way with the under-18 team. We've got 2 league games left, I think. So,
well, it goes into this mini league. Then I will sort of mention this. It's worth it. Basically, what happens is the under-18s league is regional, and so we're playing teams who are classed as the North, although what's the North in these situations is quite loose. So we're classed as the North, and what happens is the top 4 then go into a mini league with 4 from the South and play each other for the right, if he gets to call themselves the best under 18 league team in the country. That will happen quite soon, as Andy rightly points out. There's only a couple of league games left in this North before we go into that. Finding out who's where in the table isn't necessarily the easiest thing in the world, but we gather Liverpool are about second, and there's quite a gap between third and fourth, isn't there?
Yeah, we'll be in that. I mean, the different teams have played different games, but City look like they'll finish top. Us or Everton will finish second, and the other one of us third. And there's a bit of a gap to the fourth, so we will have a chance to go and play some really good, really good sides actually.
And that'll be a really interesting time. So if you haven't been down to see the under 18s yet and you fancy it, that might be the ones to hang on for when it really starts mattering. Okay, we'll leave it there. We'll say thanks to Rob, thanks a lot to Andy, and thanks a lot to Jack, whose surname I'm going to remember. And cheers, and we'll see you on the next couple of weeks.